Hello, hello. Welcome to HRD 5317 Training Design. This is going to be Team TDT. That would be Jada, Kira, Miriam, and me, Sheena Ratcliffe. So we're going to talk about stress management in the workplace. Table of contents. I started it off. Let me keep it going. So, what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about our intro into workplace stress management. Got to start somewhere. We're going to talk about training objectives, pre-instructional design activities. Got to give some activities to help manage the stress, equipment and resources, delivery methods, trainee center activities, instructional games. Everybody loves a good game. Post-class activities, practice and feedback. Because once we learn how to manage our stress in our zen of our workplace, we got to practice it, right? Then we're going to do some testing, summaries, questions, and references. So let's go ahead and get this party started. All right.
Hi all. So this is the initial briefing. Here are the skills that are going to be covered. The stress awareness and recognition. I believe that it's imperative for everyone to know what your stressors are. And so going down the bullet points, the emotional regulations and the self-management, that is super important for you to be able to be present at your work. We're also going to cover coping and relaxation techniques. We're going to cover goal setting and personal planning, interpersonal and communication skills. We all know that the message tends to get distorted, so we need communication skills for this. Reflection and continuous improvement, because that's what makes us a good team. Continuous improvement. So, next slide, please. The training objectives, this is where we're going to recognize and understand our stress and to identify common personal and workplace stressors, explain the physical, emotional, and behavioral impacts of stress, and we're going to learn how to differentiate between healthy and unhealthy stress response. We're going to apply effective stress management strategies. We're going to demonstrate the use of evidence-based coping techniques, such as breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, and mindfulness practices. We're also going to apply strategies to manage acute stress in the workplace, which kind of resonates with all of us because acute stress is the number one stressor, not just burnout, but stressors in the workplace. We're going to develop a personalized stress management plan, which consists of complete self-assessments to evaluate current stress levels and coping habits. We're also going to set short-term and long-term personal wellness goals, and we're going to design an individualized action plan, incorporating specific techniques and resources to manage stress effectively. I know sometimes we want to lash out and just run and walk out that door, but we need to be able to manage stress effectively if we're going to make this job a part of our life. Reflect and evaluate learning and application. So we're going to participate in guided discussions and reflection activities to reinforce learning and share insights. We're going to assess personal progress using the provided workbook and the evaluation rubric. And we're going to commit to continued use of learned strategies to sustain well-being and enhance workplace performance. And again, all of this is going to be your training objectives. Next slide, please.
Okay, so We came up with some pre-instructional activities, kind of like I would call them icebreakers, if you would say. I've actually done some of these myself with my team, and I believe they're really good. The first one I came up with is identifying your stressors brainstorm. So what we can do is have individuals or small groups quickly list their top 3 to 5 work or personal stressors on sticky notes. So then you're going to collect them all and put them on a board and then activate prior knowledge and show participants that they are not alone because I'm sure a lot of people in the workplace have similar stressors. And then it provides the instructor with a quick real world content guide. The next activity I came up with is a stress symptom checklist where you can hand out a brief checklist of common physical, emotional, and behavioral symptoms such as tension, headaches, irritability, difficult sleeping. I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask participants to check all that apply, connect the abstract idea of stress to tangible personal symptoms, and it illustrates the physical toll it takes on them. Lastly, what I need from you sheet. Sometimes it's kind of hard to express like what you need from your coworkers or your boss. So getting everybody in the room and finding like a common denominator really helps. So what we'll do is ask participants to complete these 2 sentences anonymously. One, like when I'm stressed, I need my colleagues, managers to blah, blah, blah. When I'm stressed, I need my colleagues, managers not to blah, blah, blah. So, and it sets a collaborative tone and highlights personal potential support mechanisms that training can address. Next slide. So, equipment and resources that we need to conduct these assessments are we'll need some paper, some notebooks, and index cards and pens for everybody to write down and journal to answer the checklist or write down their stressors. Stress balls or fidget toys. Everybody loves stress balls and fidget toys. So these can be given to participants as they enter to help channel nervous energy or demonstrate a coping tool they can keep at their desk. We will also need sticky notes, preferably different colors, for individuals to quickly write one stressor per note before posting and grouping them on a wall. Next slide. All right, and then back to the delivery method of these activities. For the identify your stressors brainstorm, we're going to provide sticky notes. Participants write down one stressor per note, and they will physically walk up to post them on a wall or a dry erase board under grouped categories. This allows high engagement within the group and kinesthetic learning. It also creates a tangible representation of the group's collective challenges. For the stress symptom checklist, we're going to instruct the I can't get my words out today, to keep their checklist next to them. When you introduce a stress management technique like deep breathing, ask them to circle one symptom they believe that technique could help alleviate. For the what I need from you sheet, we're going to provide each participant with 2 index cards or 2 half sheets of paper, and we're going to ask them to write their answer to the first prompt, which is what they need on one card. And the answer to the second prompt is going to be what they don't need on the other. Once everyone's done, we're going to collect the cards in a box without looking at the submissions. The facilitator who's in charge is going to read the responses aloud and group similar comments onto a flip chart under the 2 main headings. Next slide. I think it's 2. Trainee-centered activities. So trainee-centered activities shift the focus from the instructor as the expert to the trainee as the active participant of knowledge. In regards to stress management, these activities are critical because stress is deeply personal. Trainees must apply the tools to their own unique stressors, feelings, and environments. Trainee-centered activities fall into categories that demand active participation, personal application, and reflection. So number one, application and personalization. 2, practice and embodiment. 3, reflection and peer coaching. Next slide.
So this is a little bit of a tool that we can utilize, as Kira said, taking away the focus on the trainee on the trainer to the trainees. So we have I've drawn some activities out there for all of you. Mindful check-in and body scan. And I know these are going to sound very nuanced, but it's super important that we know how to be mindful and check in and do a body scan. So the focus and the objective of this is to increase present moment awareness and to identify physical stressors. As Kira said, we all have physical stressors, and we all might just suffer from the same stressors. You know, there's a particular person that comes around and you start getting sweaty and clampy. And so we need to be able to focus and identify what this physical stressor is. The description and the flow of this is going to be a guided body scan. Now, these are all going to last about 8 minutes. So the guided body scan is going to last 3 minutes. The select tension areas, we all tend to hold tension differently. For example, me, I hold tension on my neck. And so we're going to do that for 2 minutes. And we're going to have a quick reflection of how our body reacts and where we hold our tension. And this will be for 3 minutes. The key skills that we want to focus on this, or that we want to develop, is body awareness and grounding. I know it sounds very yoga-ish when I say grounding, but it technically just means be where you are and have the ability to acknowledge that you're tensing up in certain moments, and we're gonna walk through that. So the next one is breathe to reset. And you need to learn the basic mindfulness breathing techniques. Now, of course, this is the objective of breathing to reset, right? So, there we go. Okay. So the description and the flow is going to be follow your breathing animation. There's going to be a little slide. And I don't know if you guys have either a Samsung watch or an Apple Watch, but you can select it just on your watch. And this feature is going to play for 4 minutes. So you inhale and you exhale and you focus on your breathing. Choose preferred techniques. You're going to have this for 2 minutes, and you're going to be able to select whether you want to breathe or whether you just want to. Some people do, what is it, like stemming, like they stem differently. So that's another technique that you could choose. Reflect on the impact, and this will be done for 2 minutes. What this is going to do is just have you reflect on all of the activities, the objective of this, and the description of how it is that you're feeling versus acting on it. The key skills and the developed skills are going to be breath control and emotional regulation. The next one is thought catch and reframe. We're going to learn to recognize and reframe stressful thoughts. And so the description is going to be for learners like yourselves to type a recent stressful thought. This is going to be for 2 minutes. And then you're going to be guided through cognitive reframe. And we're going to click through the tips for 3 minutes. So you're basically going to be clicking your mouse for 3 minutes, just how some people do the clicks with the pens. We're going to write mindful statements for 3 minutes. And what I mean by mindful statements is, okay, how am I going to recognize that this stressor causes me to blah, blah, blah? Okay. And then the skills that are going to be developed are, cognitive flexibility and thought awareness. So think of it as being present and bringing the thought forward versus acting on that thought. The next one is mindful listening and communication. So we're going to build attention and empathy in interactions. I know that a lot of us, when we tend to get mad and frustrated, we kind of lose some empathy and we just think of how we're feeling at the moment. But this is going to teach us to build attention and empathy in our interactions. We're going to watch a brief demo for 2 minutes. We're going to drag and drop do's and don'ts for 3 minutes. It's sort of like, what would you do in this situation? And then it's going to give you certain types, certain answers, and then you're going to drag and drop. And then we are going to reflect on barriers for 3 minutes. The keys that are going to develop in this is focus and empathy and communication. The next one is coping under pressure. We're going to practice mindful responses to stressors. I know that a lot of us do cope under pressure, and a lot of us just tend to not. So this is going to be done by watching the brief demo for 2 minutes, and then you're going to drag and drop the do's and don'ts for 3 minutes, and then reflect on those barriers. So you're going to focus on the empathy. Oh, I'm so sorry. I got confused. We're going to do practice mindful responses to stressors and then choose actions in scenario, which is for 4 minutes. We're going to see feedback on the choices for 2 minutes, and then we're going to reflect for 2 minutes. And what this will bring is self-regulation and stress response. And then the last one we're going to do gratitude and self-compassion. And this will reinforce our positive mindset and ongoing wellness. We're going to add to the gratitude well for 2 minutes. And what I mean by adding is, just what you do during the November season where you're thankful one day at a time. So you have to be in this scenario for 4 minutes, and then you're going to add your gratitude for 2 minutes, then your guided self-meditation for 3 minutes, then reflect on that prompt. And then what this is going to teach us, the skills developed is positivity, resilience, and self-care. And next slide, please. So the post-class activities for MBSR training that we are going to cover is daily mindfulness or daily mindful minute practice. I know it sounds very cliche, but even if you practice for 1 minute, that, I don't know, I'll give you an example. I woke up today and blah, 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 for whatever you're thankful for 1 minute, right? The next one is going to be the stress log and the reflection journal. Now, this is a work in progress. The stress log and the reflection journal do have to be worked on every day. It's like therapy. You write it down, you do every day. Stress logs and reflection journals. You're going to do your gratitude journal if you would like. But I think it has helped in the past with our training sessions, especially for highly stressed areas. The guided audio practice also helps. It has many different features like breathe in and out. So it has many features, this guided audio practice. The peer or team reflection, I think it's super important that we stress that companies work better as a team. And so I think that peer and team reflection only gives back that constructive feedback. I don't like to call it constructive criticism, but I like constructive feedback because once you know that your team can be trusted, maybe you won't be as stressed, or maybe someone else is going through the stress with you. And so you know that maybe that person can help out in that arena. We're going to do a personal wellness plan update. And then last but not least, we're going to do a quick reflection quiz. How do you feel? How has this helped? What is the feedback? And it's not like a quiz where it's going to quiz you like, oh, well, what did you learn? We could, but we want to get you to the point where a quick reflection quiz will make you aware of what you're feeling and how you're feeling. Next slide, please.
Practice and feedback. So, how we will practice it will include scenario-based exercises and videos, as Miriam stated, in the short scenarios for 2 to 3 to 4 minutes, reflection journals or self-assessment checklists that you will constantly do every day, action planning activities where you're interacting with each other in groups and stuff, and then skills check where you're actually learning and using these coping techniques every day to help cope with your stress. Also, the feedback strategies will include facilitator or peer feedback / follow-up feedback in a loop, as where the facilitator or the people that you're working with close in your group will give you feedback on how you're actually handling and if you're using these coping techniques the right way. Reflective feedback is where you'll reflect on if your self-reflection, it helps you to become better at managing your stress. And then we'll also have PowerPoint presentations with automated feedback for scenarios and the quizzes that we'll give out. Next slide. To pick up off what I left at, the testing part, it comes with the pre-test, embedded test, and the post-test. In the pre-test, before beginning the module, we'll give out a complete short multi-questionnaire consisting of situational questions that you'll basically, it'll give you a baseline of understanding stress concepts, coping mechanisms, and workplace wellness practices. This assessment helps identify knowledge gaps and allows facilitators to tailor examples and discussions to the learners. It also provides a benchmark for comparing post-test performance. During the tests, it'll have embedded assessments with integrated throughout the module to reinforce key learning points and provide immediate feedback on if you're actually using these coping techniques and recognizing your stress triggers, such as mini quizzes, scenario-based decision points where learners select the best response to a stressful situation and receive instant corrective feedback on how to manage that stress the right way. Reflective checkpoints that ask learners to identify one workplace stressor and describe how they could apply a learned strategy. These embedded assessments promote active learning, immediate self-correction, and application of stress management techniques in realistic concepts and environments. The post-test will consist of a conclusion of the training. The post-test will measure learning outcomes and retention to see if you're actually using these techniques in your everyday life, not even just in the workplace, but outside in the real world. The post-test will mirror the pre-test format and also include additional application-based items such as case extracts or short situational analysis, such as describing one stress reduction technique you plan to apply in your current role, or a team member is showing signs of burnout. How would you respond to this? Such as those things. Next slide. In the end, what you will learn so far, school number 1 will be identifying common workplace stressors. That is a goal. That should be everyone's goal, to at least know when you see these stressors or when they come up, or how to see if someone else has a stressor going on and help them manage their stress. Skill number 2 is applying the evidence-based coping mechanism and techniques. So you have to actually apply your techniques or you'll never get anywhere in life, actually. And because if everyone is stressed all day, the world would be crazy. Skill number 3 is develop personal action plans to manage stress more effectively. So if you take all what you've learned from the test, the pre-test, the embedded test, and the post-test, and actually plan out an action plan to help you manage your stress, that would greatly improve your workplace environment as a whole, because everyone has stress. Everyone deals with stress daily. Skill number 4 is the guided reflection discussion, where as a group, everyone can ask their questions, give feedback on others after they did their um, action plans and everything, and see how you can relate to someone else's stressors and give feedback on those stressors as well. And skill number 5 will be a brief recap activity where we'll all engage in a group activity, basically role playing scenarios and then giving feedback to the group that role played that scenario and how you would react in that situation, how you would relieve your stress, and things of that nature. Next slide.
All right. What questions do we have? Which questions are important? A lot of that was stressful. But man, I tell you, I feel so relieved listening to my team members instruct this class. So let's ask, what stress management technique has worked best for you personally and why? How do you recognize the early signs that you're becoming stressed? How do you know? Are you feeling a little shaky or a little tense or sweaty? What are your signs? Do you recognize them? Have you ever applied something that you've learned from stress management sessions in your real life job? And if you have, what was that outcome? Was it good? Was it bad? How does your environment, your work, your home, your community influence your stress levels and coping strategies? In what ways can stress be a positive motivator rather than a negative force? So let's just think about that. I don't know if you heard, but it was just a screaming toddler on this call. And that was stressful for me as a parent. But I managed it well because I know that she's safe. I saw her with her father, and I'm able to continue to work instead of getting all riled up because toddlers scream to effectively communicate in their cognitive development. Sometimes they just scream because you're busy. And recording this video, I look busy. Once I get off here, she probably won't scream at all. And then let's talk about positive motivators. One of your instructors today, Kara, she's running 3 classes. That motivation behind that urgency to be able to do well, that motivates her like an athlete to go ahead and perform. So, stress in an athletic situation or a highly stressful situation in general can be a positive thing. It can give you motivation to perform and to do better and to achieve. Because our instructors today, they came up with these techniques for you and I to achieve. Our references was our reading book, Rapid and Instructional Design Learning. I use the Kindle edition because it stresses me out to turn physical pages. That was our last slide. So I'm going to stop the recording here. As I mentioned before, thank you so much for attending this course with the TDT. That would be Jada, Kira, Miriam, and me, your host, Sheena Ratcliffe. We'll see you next time.